I walked into my gig to play with my trio, um, and people were there in the middle of a pandemic. People were in the club, and there was a familiar face in there, although I couldn't name him. But I knew I'd seen the guy, and later on we exchanged some messages, and it turned out to be the gentleman I'm going to interview now, Charlie Saxton. Like I said, I knew his face, but I couldn't call his name. But you've seen him. You've seen him in Guillermo del Toro's show that he's got. What else? You've seen him in the show Hung that was on, I think it was HBO for a while. One of my favorite scenes is, well, I'll just show you.
Now, it says here on your resume that from 2010 to 2011, you crushed it?
But that's actually an old resume. It should also read that I crushed it from 2013 to present.
So are we to understand that you did not crush it in 2012?
There was a medical situation preventing me from crushing it to my usual standards, so
Had to take some time off until I was able to crush it at 100%, at which point I resumed crushing it full time.
Charlie Saxton and I, we exchanged some messages, and we decided to do an interview, and so we talked for a while, and it was nice. It was nice talking to him. He's a really talented guy. We had a lot in common. He plays music. We knew some of the same people, had some of the same interests, and yeah, it was just a fun time. So check out part one of, I guess it's going to be a couple parts, maybe 3 or 4 parts of my talk with a great actor and cool guy, Charlie Saxton. What were you doing in New York City, in Smalls, in the middle of a pandemic? Or at the end of a pandemic?
At the end of a pandemic, I have my girlfriend to thank. Yeah, seriously. I have my girlfriend to thank for taking me to Smalls. I'm fairly new to living in New York City. I've been coming to the city throughout my childhood just because, I would come. I'm originally outside of Philadelphia, which I think you're from. Philly
Yeah, you're
as well,
from Bristol,
right?
right? Well, I'm from Camden, New Jersey, but
okay.
Don't hold it against me.
No, you're fine. We all say we're from outside of Philly, because if you
go.
say you're from Philly, then people from Philly are going to say what part?
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
like,
You know about SEPTA?
yeah, exactly. So I just moved to New York City. I would say probably January of this year. I was in LA for the last 10 years. And then, obviously the pandemic hit, and I had a place in Long Beach Island. I just had this house that I didn't get to live in. So my girlfriend and I were like, well, nothing's happening in LA. Let's just go enjoy this place. It was on the water. It was beautiful. And then we get there and it's the most Trump country. I had no idea what my neighbors were going to be like. So we were like, we're going to get out of here very quickly.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a shame. It was a bit of a bummer, but you know what? Everything worked out the way it should have, everything for a reason. And so, yeah, my girlfriend loves the city. I've always wanted to live in the city. So we were like, all right, this is the next step. So yeah, we're both vaccinated. We've been itching to get out. I love music. I love live music. And she was like, oh, Smalls is having a show. I love Smalls. We should go. And that was it.
So she knew about Smalls.
Correct. Yeah, she had lived here before. My girlfriend had, I would say she lived here for maybe 4 or 5 years. And then we actually met in California, and then we moved back here.
Okay. So was that your first time in the Smalls?
Ever. Yeah.
Oh, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
Hey, what's funny is for me now, it's connecting with a live audience again, because once the pandemic hit, all the shows stopped. Then we were doing a lot of live streams, but now the audience is just starting to come back. So you have to remember that they're there and announce tunes and things like that. But I could feel your energy. You were behind this guy, the guy in the white shirt, and I could just see these eyes looking at me, smiling. but I had no idea it was you. I wish we would have said hello.
Yeah, man. I know. I was just, that was my first live show in over a year and a half. And live music is just, I love doing it. I love seeing it. And so I was just so excited. And I never been to like a jazz club before. So that was
that's
like,
awesome.
so dope. Yeah. I originally started playing the drums when I was like 8 years old. That was my first instrument that I picked up. And I felt one of my favorite movies is That Thing You Do. Have you ever seen that? Is like directed Tom Hanks. It's like about this band in the 60s. But so the one of the main characters is their drummer, and he loves jazz music. And so he goes to this jazz club and he just gets wasted off of martinis, and he's just like following the drummer, and he's just like, oh my God. And that's literally how I felt the other week. I was like, man, this guy is crushing it, and I am feeling these martinis.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're really into music. So you play drums, and you play, what else do you do?
So I started playing the drums, and then I picked up the bass when I was like 12 or 13. And now I'm in a band where I play the guitar and I sing.
Wow, where can I find that? I want to find this.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah, we're called Much Better. That name stemmed from all of our early practice sessions where, we would finish jamming or we would finish working out a song. And we go, oh, that was much better.
And that's what you said. We'll keep that in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's so funny. Because I got the feeling, I saw some things online about you talking about how important music is to you and that you really like it. What makes music so important for you? Is it integral to your process in some way, or?
Not really the acting process. I think it's just I grew up around it. My parents, they before, when they were younger, they had an Irish band that would like go for like, so I'm not saying I grew up in bars, but a lot of memories I have were seeing my parents play these like jovial, rollicking, like Irish shanties, and like people were just having a ball. And similarly, That Thing You Do came out when I was maybe like 6 years old. I remember being really influenced by La Bamba, the Richie Valens story. Like, I just thought that was just so cool.
Yeah,
and,
I remember that.
Yeah. And so I just always loved music, and I knew I wanted to play it. And then it really wasn't until I was maybe in like 7th or 8th grade where I went to my first like DIY punk venue, but it was in Fallsington Township. I don't know if you remember, it was this venue called Sacred Grounds. It was in the basement of a Quaker meeting house.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was my first show, my first real show, and that had a huge impact on me. It was just like a couple of ska bands, and these kids were only a few years older than me, but it just felt like the stage could have been more than 6 inches off the ground, but the fact that they were up there doing it, it was just like, all right, this is really what I want to do with my life. And it's so interesting. A random like Facebook memory popped up that I didn't even like. Someone liked a post that I had posted. Like, it's crazy to say that Facebook's around for like 15 years at this point, right? But a post that I had done like 15 years ago, talking about this band and how much live music meant to me. And it was just a really interesting kind of full circle situation. Cause I knew we were having this discussion tonight, and the paragraph was like, this is what I want to do with my life. I love music. It's so cool. And
that's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Because, now with this pandemic, you see how, well, not even prior to the pandemic, you see how people decided that music was kind of an add-on. I feel like it's supposed to be free, it seems. And if you do sell music, it's 1099. So says Apple and those sort of people. How do you feel about that sort of thing? Like loving music, do you still buy music, or do you stream? Or
I definitely stream. I have a Spotify account, but whenever I can, I do like to buy physical copies. I love buying cool vinyl records or
I was going to ask you. So you got a record player, or do you just collect them?
I have a record player. I actually just got this awesome new turntable from Houseplant, Seth Rogan's new company. Have you seen this?
No.
He started this company called Houseplant, and it's half like artisanal cannabis, but then the other half is like awesome home decor and really cool, like, because he makes vases and all this stuff. But he partnered up with this turntable company, and they made this beautiful, sleek, like 70s retro turntable. So I just picked that up, and I'm really excited about it. But no, yeah, I love listening to vinyls. Like, it's just like I don't know, it's a routine thing of taking it out of the sleeve and like lifting the case, and it's like you have to be careful with this. I mean? It's ritualistic in a way,
It's nice to hold it in your hand, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's so weird with this whole NFT thing and with all these things that have such a high value that you can never touch. It's bizarre to me. I know I sound like a relic.
No, I'm the same way, because I was like, so the whole point is just to say that you own it. Like, is that it's pretty bonkers to me as well. You're not alone there.
But I wonder how all of this, like, do you feel any of this crunch in your world and you in the acting world?
Not necessarily. I haven't, like, NFTs, you mean? Or
just the whole digital world. Like, for instance, I know Netflix is trying to buy outright. They're buying footage, and then they just own it, right? So there's no more SAG payments and stuff. It's just this whole residuals. It's just this whole idea that, like, the art that you make that used to, like, in the music business, we used to have royalties, or used to make a record and you could sell the record, and you wake up in the morning and you sold 200 copies overnight and stuff. They seem to be attacking all of these industries that were like that. And I see it starting to come to, it seems like it's starting to come to the film world. Like HBO Max is putting out movies the same time they go out in the theater, they're going out on there. Just wonder how you feel about that. And is it affecting you in any way? Do you see any relief to it? Or
I think it's definitely circumstantial in terms of like the pandemic. Like, I thought it was great having the same day releases. I was actually in a film that was a same day release. I was in The Little Things, and that was really exciting for me because my whole family was able to, I mean, you had to get HBO Max, but like everyone was able to see it and we didn't have to go to the theater. I do know a lot of people are not happy with that for that very reason that you were just mentioning. For me personally, in that instance, I guess like I wouldn't maybe see the SAG residuals as much as I would. But for like, the directors and the writers who, once you've reached a certain point, you literally get points. And that's, it's a little bit more than royalties. It's the back end of, once it makes a profit, then you just keep making money on and on and on. And so that kind of cuts that out. But that is an interesting point. And I haven't necessarily seen it yet of a company just outright buying the rights to something and then claiming it as their own stake. And that's curious because Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and all these companies are still technically considered new media, even though they are like the conglomerates and the monopoly that like are owning it, they're still considered new media. So it's a very blurred kind of like almost Wild West of like, no one really knows what the gimmick is, I should say. But it
seems like that we need some language around these things, and we need to start, like, if the rules aren't in place, we need to figure out what some rules are. Like in podcasting, there seems to be some like you said, gray area. We saw it in music for years. Now we're seeing it in, like, for instance, just changing the name from a movie's no longer a movie or a film's no longer a film. It's digital content or online content. And then when you change that name, you're able to change the rules or whatever.
Exactly. You're literally allowed to change the rules. And it's like, well, hold on. Like, if you're spending X amount of money, this is almost as if you were doing it on this platform. Like, it's interesting the things that companies are getting away with.
But it's interesting to hear you talk about holding the record, and you started really early, right? Like in theater and all, and seeing the trajectory. Like how have things changed for you over the years?
Yeah, I've been acting since I was 5 years old. Oh, sorry, that's embarrassing.
No, no. You
Um,
you did like a play. I read you did a play with your sister.
yes, I did. One of the very first things I did. Oh, let me go on airplane mode real quick. Um, One of the first thing I did when I was 8 years old was I did a 6 month tour of To Kill a Mockingbird, and they got
At
the set.
6 months
It was
as 8 years old.
yeah, but it wasn't like a band tour where it was like a different stop every night. Like we would it went from the George Street Playhouse in Jersey, not too far from Camden actually. It was in New Brunswick maybe.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then it went to the Walnut Street Theater in Philadelphia, and then it randomly went to the Coconut Grove Playhouse in Miami, Florida. Um, but yeah, another thing about it, it was pretty fucking crazy because I was 8 years old, and
So
we
your
would have
parents go with you.
we would have one parent with us because the other parent had to keep working,
Right,
had to
right.
keep doing and we would have a tutor with us at all times.
Oh right, because you're in school.
We were in school still, yeah. That that was a lot of fun. That experience though wasn't as crazy as when I was 13. I did a Broadway show here, uh, but I was still living in Philadelphia. And so they had a tutor for the rehearsal process. But then once the show opened, all the kids had to go back to school. And all the other kids were like based here. So that was fine. But what I would have to do is they would let me go in late, thankfully. But I would go in like around 10:30, and I would get like a free study hall to like catch up on all my work. And then school would end at 2:30, and I would run home, throw whatever stuff I needed. There was a SEPTA right across the street from my parents' house. I would hop on that SEPTA, hop on a train at Trenton to New Jersey Transit to New York City. And then depending on how I felt that day, I would take a cab or the subway to the theater. And then
Wait, how old are you?
I was like 12, 13. Like,
This is insane.
it's insane. And we talk about it with our parents now, and we're like, that's insane. And they're like, you were fine. Like I had a cell phone. I really didn't feel like I was in any danger because I just had like my destination. I knew where I was going. But yeah, that's like literally insane. And thankfully, by some chance, like Bristol Borough is like, a square mile big. There was someone in that town in the same show as me. So she would drive me home at the end of the night every day. But it was Cat on the Hot Tin Roof. So it was like this Tennessee Williams 3-act drama. The show wouldn't get done until like close to 1:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? So
then a 2-hour drive back.
Exactly. So I wouldn't get home until maybe like 3, sometimes 4 in the morning. Wake up, go back to school at 10 a.m., do it all over again. Yeah.
But I'm guessing you knew you wanted to do this for a life by then, though, right?
Definitely. Like I remember when I was younger, my sister really wanted to do it. And so I was brought along to a lot of like the meetings and the auditions and whatnot. But even as a kid, I was like, this is great.
Really?
Like mostly I was like, there's free food everywhere. There's free food everywhere. I didn't have to go to school. And I was getting to just like, make people laugh. And I didn't really realize it then, but then as I got older, I was like, this is like one of the best jobs in the world. Yeah. And so I knew I wanted to do it, but I didn't take it that seriously until I was going to go to college in my senior year of high school.
Wait. No, you can't do that. You were on Broadway at 12. It was pretty serious.
Was pretty serious.
As someone who started early, yeah, you had an idea. And like, are you getting paid for Broadway? Like,
yeah, it's it was pretty nice for a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid. Yeah.
And so, like, are your parents letting you like splurge with the money, or like,
no? It was all going into a college fund. It was all savings. But then, like, the college savings kind of went out the window because I decided not to go to college after all. I got early.
Good for you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, like, it was all circumstance. Again, like, this industry is so crazy that, like, you do Broadway, and I was doing little gigs here and there, but from throughout high school, it was I lived a normal childhood. Like, I was a bus boy, I worked at Rite Aid, I worked at Hollister for a summer. I did all these. Yeah, that was fun. But so then my senior year of high school, I booked this film called Bandslam, actually, where I got to be a bass player in a ska punk band. It was just like I
got to live your dream.
I lived my dream, like, precisely. And dude, it was insane because David Bowie's in that movie. Not a lot of people know about this film.
Yeah,
but
what's the film again?
It's called Bandslam. Yeah, man, it's great. It stars Vanessa Hudgens and Ali Mishalka, and it's kind of a spoiler, but yeah, David Bowie is the last movie David Bowie was ever in, and it's basically like this misfit crew of kids, and this new kid in town decides to be the band manager to lead them to the battle of the bands called Bandslam, and yeah, it was.
Oh, I feel like I've seen this somewhere.
It's got a bit of a cult appeal at this point.
Yeah, I feel like a friend of mine told me about this because I got a friend who's anything Bowie. If he like said the title of this movie, we have to.
They know. Yeah.
All right, so hope you enjoyed that couple of minutes with Charlie. Hope you enjoy all the content that we have here. Take a look around. We got some cool stuff. There's some links in the description down there. And yeah, thanks for checking out Purgatory Perceptions. All right, till next time.